Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around it's going to be a bit of intense greenskin on high elf action on the map Duskwatch Plateau. And it's definitely going to be a toughie, because in this match I found myself squaring off against Felkon and his high elves. So I decided to go with what I hoped was a more competitive greenskin build for this matchup, and decided to roll with a Wurtzak. Personally, I know Azag's a very popular pick. Azag obviously has the benefit of Spirit Leech against high-end elites, but I really like Wurtzak. For me, he's just a very forgiving character. He's got some great abilities, great spells. So here I did bring him with both of his items, Squealy Beast as well as Bone with Staff, granting extra winds of magic and a mini Wa effect every cast. Of course, Warpaint of Wurtzak for that extra physical resist, Power of the Wa for even more winds of magic, Brain Bursta to proc the Bone with Staff more often, as well as Fists, and to delete sort of clumped up squishy infantry. Fists of Gork, of course, to boost up key units in critical fights. Here we go to buff up if there's a big AoE fight. Get back here, of course, for leadership. Wa, well, it's Wa. And then Effigy of the Gate, which is just a very strong ability. It lets you snare an opponent. The only true net that the Greenskins have, and it doubles the Spirit Leech type effect. Alongside him, we do have two Goblin Big Bosses, both of which are kitted out with Slippery. These guys will be providing courage in those cavalry fights. They also provide poison, helping my cavalry perform a bit better. And I actually did bring the Broken Tusk Mob, as well as some Orc Boarboy Big Guns. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, but Broken Tusk Mob does provide encourage already, so the Goblin Big Boss won't be helping much there in that aspect. But still, it does give me a decent mobile contingent there with two Boarboy Big Guns. The Boarboy Big Guns, of course, having been recently buffed. So Broken Tusk Mob is actually didn't get a buff to its armor, so it's still kind of its old self. Bit iffy there. Now for my front line, it's pretty cheap. Two Black Orcs, of course, very powerful units, can absolutely mulch through the majority of high elf troops, backed up by the Warlords Boys. Unfortunately, I actually wanted the Unbreakable Goblins, the Apic Loonies, but I accidentally picked the Warlords Boys as I was in a rush to pick my troops. And these guys do provide armor sundering. They are immune to psychology, so they'll still hold okay, especially against a build like Felkon's here, which isn't too heavy on monsters or sort of big shock effects, but still, it's a little bit of a downside. On the flanks, we do have some Gobos just to soak up fire and to screen, two Nasty Skulkers for the snares, and really the centerpiece of the army here, two Doomdiver Catapults, which are very powerful against high elves. They can snipe away at key targets, pick away at sort of high-value cavalry, infantry like Swordmasters or Sisters of Avalorn, that sort of thing. And of course, they're very difficult to dodge because they home. Now, Felkon did go for a very wide and very aggressive build. He actually caught me by surprise here by bringing Tyrion. He's not a pick you see all that often, but he is certainly a fearsome opponent to try to face down. Of course, Heart of Avalorn in there for that healing. He's got Stand Your Ground, Foe Seeker, Feint and Riposte, as well as a Sunfang, which can really clean out goblin mobs. It's very, very terrifying to cheap greenskin infantry. And behind him, there are 3 units of unshielded Silverhelms looking to provide an additional shock contingent. And really, a mix of Silverhelms plus Tyrion is going to be a real fearsome competitor to my greenskin cavalry. I should note, I did actually have a single unit of Force Goblin Spider Eyes back here in the corner. You might be wondering why. Well, I was expecting that Felkon might do some sneaky shenanigans, maybe drop some cav back there, and I wanted to be ready to interdict those. 2 Leader Maneuvers are going to be chipping away at my troops here on the front line. Of course, there is a caster, a Mage of Shadows. She is coming in on foot. All she's got is Penumbral Pendulum. Interesting choice there. I'm surprised there's no Enfeebling Foe on Melkos Miasma, but it does mean the caster is very cheap. The front line is a mix of Spearmen as well as White Lions. These guys can probably outtrade my front line because it's only a handful of Black Orcs, but it will certainly take them a little while. Finally, there are more Silverhelms out on the flank here, as well as in the center, providing a total of 5 Silverhelms, so quite the potent cavalry force. Now, immediately here, I'm going to actually have my Doomdiver engaging the Leader Maneuvers, trying to chip them down a little bit, but unfortunately they actually push into range here on my Doomdiver, which is not great. So I'm sending the Warlords Boys forward, trying to zone them away, keep them off my Doomdiver, because that's something I don't want to be losing. In the meantime, over here, Tyrion does jump my troops alongside his Silverhelms here, just piling in onto my flank. Getting into those Gobos now, the Nasty Skulkers here are going to pile in against Tyrion, as will the Broken Tusk Mob, just turning and engaging on him. Though perhaps not the most ideal situation, because he does have Sunfang, keep in mind. But in come the Gobo Big Bosses, and we are going to be looking for that meaty engage here on Tyrion. In the meantime, here in the main line, we are going to throw our Orc Boarboy Big Guns into the line, intercepting these Silverhelms and actually beating the crap out of them, because Boarboy Big Guns are actually pretty good against Cav. They're not great against most things, but Cav is one thing they demolish. Meantime, over here, Spiders are making their way back into the fight as the frontline engagements Greenskins kick off, but unfortunately, many of the Blackworks here were not fully engaged, so that's definitely a bit of a misplay. Over here, the Nasty Skulkers do get routed, I believe, by a Sunfang, but we have hit our mob here with an Here We Go. We do have Fists of Gork on the Broken Tusk mob. We are actually demolishing many of these troops, and I actually dropped an Effigy of the Gate on Tyrion, hoping to snipe him down and melt his HP. In the meantime, Blackworks here are going to be engaging on these White Lions, and the horde of cavalry is spilling all over, looking to engage Felkon's forces out here on the flank. Unfortunately, that does leave our Doomdiver catapults somewhat exposed, although our Boarboy guns will interdict the Silverhelms here. They are now pretty mauled. They're down to by about a third of their strength. So this fight is not going to be ideal for them. The mage is in there helping. She can actually contribute a bit, and as you can see, a nice Pinnable Pendulum there demolishes my Blackwork line. Unfortunately, Nasty Skulkers are just kind of going to have a tough time defending. Now, fortunately, so as they're shifted here, they're going to have a rough time trying to defend if these Leader Reavers try to flank. Now, Warthog over here is trying to provide support, keeping these Orc Boarboy Biggins in the fight a little longer with Get Back here, but they are going to breach the line, and things are going to get hairy as my Cav gets compromised. Now over here, Gobos are rallying, pushing back into the fray, looking to get a flank here. The Forest Goblin Spider Riders, as well as the Broken Tusk Mob, really holding their own here, but unfortunately the backline is now compromised. Doomdiver Catapults getting shut the hell down by these Leader Reavers, as well as the Silverhelms. Warthog is trying to shut them down here himself with the Spleen Ripper, throwing one of those Silverhelms clean off his horse. But, yeah, the leadership on the Doomdivers is not going to hold up here. They're going to rout, and we're not really able to shut down this Cav as Felkon runs shop on our backline here, really just shutting everything down. Now, we do get some smoke here on the Silverhelms, reducing their speed and their charge, but Nasty Skulkers don't have the best leadership, so they will struggle to stay in that fight. Here on the periphery, we are actually losing our Cav slowly but surely. Now, the Goblin Big Boss is doing quite the great job, but we don't have, for example, a Foot of Gork or something to just nuke this pocket. So, Felkon can kind of stay in here. Tyrion's kind of indestructible, and although Warthog is going to commit to try to help these Silverhelms, the rest of our army is buckling, and these Blackorks are on their last legs, surrounded and taking missile fire, and they're probably going to break if they take a rear charge, which they are going to take here. So those beefy Blackorks, who normally would hold pretty well, are actually going to rout here. And of course, they're too slow to escape. White Lions are very, very quick on their feet. So this is a lost cause. And at this point, balance of power swinging pretty decisively in Felkon's favor. The leadership just is not holding, as most of our troops do start routing. Now, fortunately, Tyrion here is actually caught. We actually nail him there with an effigy and kill him. So Tyrion is down, so potentially maybe we can sneak in a leadership bomb. Of course, we don't have Fear or Terror or anything like that. And the effigy on Tyrion there does mean that we do not get an effigy for any of these cavalry units. So I'm trying to pull Warthog away here. Goblin Big Boss does rally alongside the Broken Tusk Mob, gets into these Silverhelms, is going to beat the crap out of them. But at this point, there's just really too many pointy ears. The Blackorks are going to get chased off. The Goblin Big Boss here is getting run down, and he's not going to be quick enough, I don't think, to escape. We do have the Warlord's Bush rallying here in the distance. The fact that we didn't have those Unbreakable Gobos is definitely not helping here. We just didn't have a stable line holder in some of those points. We do get another wall, which obviously boosts our stats, but kind of irrelevant at this stage. Goblin Big Boss pops Slippery, trying to stay in there. Warthog, of course, fighting tooth and nail, perhaps, and really mowing these guys down. He's up to 44 kills now, and the Prophet of Gork and Mork is definitely not going quietly into this good night. Unfortunately, this map is really kind of bad for the visuals. That ugly orange brownish floor, not great. But Warthog is definitely kicking some high elf tail here as he goes down, up to 48 kills. Pops a Fist of Gork on himself to try to stay in the fight, but unfortunately, the rest of the army is just collapsing. At this point, even if I manage to fight my way out of this Cav encirclement, which Warthog's struggling to do, we do get a little brain burst to there. Off the Big Boss, but even if Warthog managed to fight his way out of this encirclement, and he kind of does, he's killing these Silverhelms, there is still this massive pocket of High Elf infantry, and I think even with flawless cycle charging, breaking them would be nigh on impossible. Now, the last two of our troops are getting overrun. The Goblin Big Boss, they're getting demolished. The Blackorks here actually do rally, but down to 22 models and way out of the fight. They're going to get isolated and wrecked. Warthog can't hold up over here. Big Boss is back into the fight. Up to 17 kills, this guy. Keep in mind, it's mostly Silverhelms. For such a cheap Cav, that's not a bad achievement. But really, Warthog here, trying to fight his way clear, but it's just not happening. Really wishing we had a Foot of Gork, but, you know, at this point, I didn't really have the Winds of Magic for it anyway. So it's going to be a GG. As we get overwhelmed, those reinforcements are just not going to make it in there. We do get back here. I was going to fight to the bitter end. Wartag up to 69 kills now. He's not a pushover in melee, keep that in mind, but it just doesn't really matter. These Silverhelms will end him, if nothing else. I did have the big boss coming back, but at this point, hell, the ammunition on these guys, they'd be able to shoot Wartag to death if they wanted to. So, a valiant defeat for the Green Tide, and very well played to Felkon. So, really, I would say that the battle came down to some build issues as well as some, well, quite a few really player mistakes. I did a pretty bad job defending my backline. Initially, I was pretty good. I felt sort of on top of my game with the Orc Boarboy big guns, but later on, I was just not performing correctly to shut down those the interdiction on the Doom Divers. I kind of lost those Boarboy big guns out in the wastes against the Silverhelms. Also allowed all my cav and one of my nasty skulkers to just get bogged down in this big old blob fight with Tyrion. And Tyrion with some Silverhelms was just going to outgrind that all day. And maybe I should have gotten the Doom Divers firing into that pocket. Probably should have approached that fight a bit differently, but I just didn't. And I definitely think that hurt me a bit. Maybe having a Foot of Gore could have helped. In hindsight, perhaps getting a bit more cavalry on the defense. Honestly, maybe cutting some of these big bosses to make room for some more Boarboy big guns could have been a better move. In the meantime, for Felkon, he did bring, I think, a bit of an off-meta build. I don't think Tyrion's a very common sight in this matchup. Granted, it's not one I play a huge amount, but it's not I believe, a meta pick. And Tyrion performed very well. Like, he just was unkillable for the longest time. Got 65 kills. Keep in mind, I guess a good chunk of those kills were against nasty skulkers with, I think, a Sunfang. But then a lot of it was also against Broken Tusk Mob. He beat the crap out of my big bosses and took so much focus fire. And then some really good plays with the Mage of Shadows. Really, I didn't expect much from the Penumbral Pendulum, but it just hit my Black Orcs pretty hard. Did a lot of damage there. Really good Silverhelm play, overwhelming my backline, breaking some of those Black Orcs that could have otherwise held and fought a bit longer. And just very well played there. So definitely a sort of surprise build. It was not the build I expected. I think had I, for example, gone with a spider build, this might have not held up as well. But with the build I went for, it proved an incredibly powerful combination. Regardless, well played to Felkon here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, found it entertaining and fun. If you do have any questions, requests, remarks, anything along those lines, be sure to post down in the comments below. I'll respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.